Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. We're back in Volusia County again, and my favorite spot, recognized from a lot of my videos, the Mesic Pine Lands. And I've had a pretty shitty week, so I decided to come out and take a little stress off of my mind so I don't commit arson on my own house and collect the insurance money and move to Indonesia. So today what we're going to do is going to be inspecting what's growing in this ditch line here, which is a lot of good things, but it's a lot of little things. So basically this episode will be about appreciating the little things in life and the little things that grow on the ground. So let's see what we can find. Alright, our first little thing to appreciate down here, growing on the edge of this ditch, is a nice little patch of one of Florida's native sundews. This here is Drosera brevifolia. Very cute little rosettes, covered in that sticky goo, and growing right amongst the lichen. Like, what a beautiful little sight. Now, this is commonly mistaken for Drosera capillaris, because if you don't know what you're looking at, and you don't know your sundew morphology, you can get them confused really quick. But I'll give you a little rundown right now. Drosera brevifolia has that, semi-spoon shaped leaf coming out from the center. And the easy way to tell Drosera brevifolia and Drosera capillaris apart is if you look at the petiole of Drosera brevifolia, it has those sticky glands running from the center of the petiole, where it starts in the middle of the rose, or in the middle of the rosette, all the way out to the tips. So there's sticky traps covering the whole leaf surface. Now we'll see in a little bit on Drosera capillaris, there's only sticky glands on that outer spoon of the leaf. There's no sticky glands on the petiole. And I've gotten to where I can kind of walk by them and look and, get the ID down. But to the layman and to somebody that doesn't have good eyes, they all just kind of look like little red bug eaters on the ground. But yeah, Drosera brevifolia. These guys are beautiful when they're in flower too, and they make a lot bigger flower than Drosera capillaris. Now, the springs and summers, or should I say spring and fall in Florida is really nice sometimes, because when you get to these areas that have this sphagnum moss cover, in the spring and fall it's nice and green like this. You come here in the summer, if it's not right in the water, it's toasted and it's crispy. And within this sphagnum moss, there's all kinds of little surprises. Like here we have little clumps of Drosera capillaris, and as you can see, look closely at that petiole coming from the center of the rosette. There is no sticky trapping glands on that petiole. They're just out on the outer spoon, and that's the way to tell these guys apart, besides the flower, of course. And there's all kinds of little surprises in these little moss banks. We have little Sarracenia minor popping up. All kinds of little Sarracenia minor. They're not looking their best because it's the fall. Come back in the springtime and catch them in bloom. But it's just great to see such diversity growing on the edge of a little ditch. And further along this beautiful mossy ditch, we get to see one of the more interesting growth habits of Drosera capillaris. Now when they get on the edge of these ditches like this, sometimes they'll like to grow basically vertically. Just clung into the side of the little mud hill. They're all over here. Now, the other difference in between capillaris and brevifolia is where you'll see where they like to grow. The capillaris sometimes will be right down in the water, you know, like that. Where the brevifolia will be up here on the drier bank in a little bit of a drier area. And up here, we even have a little baby pinguicula. Now this is probably Pinguicula cerealiae or Pinguicula lutea, or lutea, however you say that. But it's a little too small to do the ID right now. But still pretty cool. All these little carnivorous surprises hanging out in the moss. Alright, continuing with the tales from the mossy ditch. We got our little baby Drosera capillaris speckled around everywhere, hiding in the moss. And what you often see in these bogs, you get species of lycopods, which is really cool. They have this prostrate growing habit where they grow along the ground, and then at some points they'll stand up like so. Now, I'm not an expert in these at all, so I couldn't begin to tell you what species this is, but I know it's a lycopod. But isn't that very Dr. Seussish? And it feels amazing. You know, like on those days where you want to throw yourself head first into a wood chipper, just come out here and get a little nice stroke on a lycopod. Calm me right down. And, you know, nothing too special here, even though moss is still special in my book. Look at that nice, beautiful pillow sphagnum moss. So nice and green and soft, like a pillow. And get up close. Nothing like some sphagnum moss. We got a little baby pine tree growing out of the middle of it. That's just great. What you hear in the background is my dog drinking swamp water, which is his favorite flavor. Oh yeah, there you go. Oh, what? That wasn't the puddle? Holy fuck. Alright, straddling the ditch again. And here we have, oh yep, more beautiful moss. It's Moss Appreciation Week. This one's got shaggier hairdo. I don't think if, you know, if you can't appreciate the moss on the ground, I don't think we can be friends. Probably not my kind of human. Which, you know, not many people are my kind of human. So, rather be out here with the moss, make moss buddies. Yeah, that's where the gnomes and the fairies live, where the moss meets the cypress knee. Yep, little gnome house. Yeah, that sphagnum moss line just goes right down the ditch. Some spots it's unbroken for like a good quarter mile. And you always find this cool stuff out here. Pretty common thing to see, but I always love me some deer moss. Now, yet again, I'm not a moss or lichen expert, so I have no idea what species this is, no idea how to tell them apart. Just look at that intricacy. Now, a deer moss is not a moss, it's technically a lichen, and a lichen is what happens when an algae and a fungi become symbiotic. You know, somewhere along the, millions of years of evolution, they decided to work together. The algae takes advantage of the fungus, or I shouldn't say takes advantage, benefits from the fungus being a saprotroph and eating dead material. And then the fungus also takes a little bit from the deer moss, or should I say shares, because it's photosynthetic. Or not the deer moss, the algae in the moss. Now, the lichen diversity here is just crazy. If you look a little bit closer, you got this kind of lichen. Now, those little red heads are where the spores come from. And the spores hit the air, fall somewhere else in the ditch, and you get more of this really cool lichen. Now, I always noticed there seems to be kind of like two different forms of the deer moss. I don't know if it's two different kinds, but you see how this one's more tight and compact like coral, and that one over there is a little bit more open textured. I kind of like the tight corally ones better. And yet again, it looks like something that should be on the bottom of the ocean. Deer moss. Lichen, not a moss. Let me get you back in on that. Yeah, doesn't that, I don't know, if you have a deep, burning rage within you, and you stare into this for a good couple of minutes, I don't know, maybe you'll figure something out. And behind me, I just noticed that more Drosera capillaris. And those ones I was showing you earlier are like the more tight rosetted form. This is the long petiole form that gets those very, very, very long petioles. Sometimes people mistake it for Drosera intermedia, but it's definitely not. It's just two different forms of Drosera capillaris. And I'm not even sure it's two different forms. I just think the plant grows differently in, different growing conditions. More sun. Here's more of those red spore heads from that other little moss, or lichen I should say. Yep, a tiny little world on the edge of a ditch. Oh boy. Yeah, it's a good day out here. A little bit of moss to cheer me up. Look at this little moss island. Isn't that cute? On those days where, you want to punch a stranger in the face while you're standing in line at the grocery store, or jump out of your car and beat someone with the wrench that cuts you off in traffic, or, basic relationship problems, or the world in general not being the best it can be. Just think back to the little moss island. Just think back if you were a little gnome and you had a little chair and you kick back on your moss island and you just chill. And you got all kinds of incredible things to look at. Like, look at this lichen. Isn't that nuts? See how close I can get in on that. Look at that. It's incredible. The intricacy. Nature in miniature. Yep, when life's getting you down, just go outside. You know, you don't even have to go too far. Just go to some tree in your yard and look at the stuff that's growing on the side of the tree. Alright, that's enough of my misanthropy. You know, here we got some more quality gnome real estate. Oh, this little afro of moss right at the bottom of the tree. Yeah, it's good stuff. If I was a gnome, my little house would go right there, right on top of the moss. Ah, Ticket likes it too. Isn't that right, dog? Oh, you're getting such a bath when we go home, dude. Alright, we got something cute down here. I know you guys have seen enough of these in my videos, but look at this cute little Sarracenia minor. Oh, I mean, his traps are about as big as no bigger than my finger. Oh, yeah, that's adorable. Little tiny guys. Now they're growing on the edge of this ditch here. Now, when Sarracenia flower and drop their seeds in the fall, they grow along the ditch like this because their seeds float. And when the water rises, it carries the seeds off down the ditch, lands on another bank, and then you get more little baby Sarracenia. Oh, too cute. Oh, I can feel my mood rising already. And here we got another one of those long petioled Drosera capillaris. Nice form on that one. Nice long petioles. Nice red spoons. And strangely enough, this one's in bud, which is way out of season. These guys usually bloom from the spring on through the summer. So definitely a late bloomer. And again, Drosera capillaris, long petioled form. Alright, I busted out the macro lens so we can get nice and up close and personal with these sundew shots. Now here we have Drosera capillaris. Notice the leaf covered in the sticky trichomes. Now look at the petiole, which is the stem that connects the leaf to the rosette. There are no sticky glands, indicative of Drosera capillaris. And oh my god, the closer you look at it, the more beautiful it is. Little glistening dewdrops, a little tiny mite crawling around in the center. Maybe he'll become prey, who knows? Oh, wobbling you around. Oh yes, Drosera capillaris, no trapping glands on the petiole. Now we'll show you brevifolia to compare. Alright, here we are up close on Drosera brevifolia. Now you can see the difference in those trapping leaves. Those sticky glands run from the petiole all the way up into that spoon leaf. So there's trapping glands from the center of the leaf on out. They cover the whole leaf, the petiole, the leaf tip, and all. Funny enough, when this plant blooms, you even get trapping glands on the leaf stem, or on the flower stem, I should say. But yet again, here we go. Remember, capillaris, no glands on the petiole. brevifolia glands on the petiole. There is your introductory to your common Florida sundew morphology. And just a beautiful thing, man. Oh, that ant better watch out. Look at that ant. Maybe we can watch him get stuck. Now we'd be here for a while. Alright. And again, Drosera brevifolia. Beautiful little work of nature. And that's going to be it for today. Thank you for joining me on my little trip to calm my nerves out in one of my favorite places with one of my favorite creatures. And just remember, when life's getting you down, instead of doing something stupid or getting into a depressive hole at your house, drinking yourself into a coma or anything like that, just go outside, look at a flower, poke around in a bush, do something. Well, until the next time, me and Ticket bid you goodbye.